Tune in to the newest season of Hunt Club with Philip Culpepper on Waypoint TV. Experience the highs, lows, and extreme fun of hunting the southern turkey woods. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on Waypoint TV. Don't miss My World with Mike Iaconelli as he spends a day on the water and in the world of some of the best professional athletes Mondays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Waypoint TV.
Bull Shoals, I've been there twice, and both times it's kind of kicked my butt. Deep, clear water is not really my style, so
not what we have around here in Nashville.
No, not at all. It's dirty, and it can get deeper, but I'd say I'm more comfortable in fishing 25 feet or less, not 30 to 50 feet like we were on Bull Shoals. But that's all a part of learning different lakes. It's a lot of fun, and it can be frustrating.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer Podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing in the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your host, Master Captain Angie Scott.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Woman Angler and Adventurer Podcast. We just wrapped up the 2023 LBAA Women's Pro Bass Tour season. You'll hopefully listen to the episode from last week where we made the announcement about some of the changes that are going to be happening that are super exciting. And we'll see what 2024 is going to bring us. But I wanted to sit down real quick with our 2023 LBA Angler of the Year, Teri Cindric. She's right here in Tennessee. She's getting ready to head off and fish another championship tournament tomorrow. Well, the tournament's not tomorrow, is it?
No, it's Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, so back-to-back weekends of fishing championships. But wanted to, kind of go back a little bit before we get into the season and just find out, like, how you got started in fishing and talk a little bit about your journey.
Well, I actually found out about the WBT, the Women's Bass Tour that Academy sponsored, and I fished the last year of that as a co-angler and just kind of fell in love with it. I made the championship. I did well in some of the events, and I was just ate up with it, and then it folded. Academy pulled out sponsorship, and BASS also pulled out, so the women were kind of left without their own tour to fish, and that's when Secret and Cheryl started up the LBAA shortly after that. I think they had an introductory tournament that I wasn't able to make, but then I started as a boater in 2010, the first year of the LBAA, and I didn't really have a clue what I was doing or getting into. I showed up on Sam Rayburn, and I was a hot mess because a lot of the settings had changed on my GPS, and I didn't realize it, and I was having a really hard time navigating, and Cheryl Bowden, pulled me aside and, gave me a pep talk and let me follow her around that lake and get some trails, and I did fairly well. I think I finished close to the top 10 in that tournament, and then from there, I've pretty much fished everyone for the last 13 years. I did take 1 year off, and I fished as a co-angler in the Central Bass Opens to see kind of what that was like and how it was ran. Wouldn't do that again as a co-angler, but maybe someday, if work ever slowed down, I'd enter as a boater. But it's been a fun, long journey with the LBAA. I've come a long way, and winning the Angler of the Year this year was just a great way to kind of not end my career, but possibly end, wrapping up the travel fishing for a while. I finished second in the Classic, and I lost by one fish that, I definitely lost a few in the tournament, as I'm sure everybody else did, but would have made a difference, and I never dreamed I'd finish that well. So Bull Shoals, I've been there twice, and both times it's kind of kicked my butt. Deep, clear water is not not really my style. So,
not what we have around here in Nashville.
No, not at all. It's dirty, and, it can get deeper, but, I'd say I'm more comfortable in fishing 25 feet or less, not 30 to 50 feet like we were, on Bull Shoals. But, that's all a part of learning different lakes. It's a lot of fun, and it can be frustrating. But this time I was determined to learn how to drop shot. I kept seeing the bigger fish out. They're waiting. They were staging in these treetops. At least that's what I found. And I broke out the Lowrance Active Target 2 and had never really video game fished. And I spent the majority of the 4 days of practice teaching myself how to do that. And it definitely paid off in the tournament. I caught some really key fish out of those trees. In the morning, I could get one or two, good smallmouth or largemouth, off of bluffs or possibly shallow in the bushes. And then about 10 or 11 o'clock, that bite, kind of died. And that's when I started running to the trees and drop shotting, and was able to pick up some pretty key spotted bass doing that. And the last day, I actually caught a pretty good largemouth out of my magic tree. So
cool. Well, I tried that a little bit. This year I didn't have forward facing sonar on the boat. That's definitely something I'm actually working on figuring out now for next season, because it's definitely a nice tool to have. It kind of opens up a little bit more on what you're able to do. So I'm probably going to go with the Active Target 2 as well, since all my electronics are Lowrance. I did pull one out of a tree just by happenstance, and it was a spotted bass.
Yep.
And that was the one that Robbie had to fizz for me. So
yeah, I also got a crash course. I had asked Linda Gessner, who won the tournament. She's a friend of mine, and I was just kind of reviewing. I had watched a few videos, and I think Barb Elliott, I had bought an actual fizz kit that she sells where you fizz them in the side. And I tried to do that because all the fish I was pulling out were probably 30 feet, and they all needed to be fizzed. I was able to borrow a needle. I'm more comfortable through the mouth, but the last time here in Tennessee when I fizzed a smallmouth, I guess I let too much air out of it. So I think it was on its way to not surviving anyway, because the smallmouth around here, when it's really hot, they don't do well in the live well. So I was kind of a second ditch effort to save it, and I think I ended up letting too much out, and of course they'll sink and die. So I was really weary of fizzing my fish, but this tournament I absolutely had to, and was able to do it just a little bit at a time, and now I'm back to being comfortable with it.
Awesome. Do you have the weights as well?
Yeah, I used the fin clips in my live well, and I gave them a little time to rest. I put the fin clips on them, but several of them were still, those spots had these big pot bellies, and they would eventually float up. So I would fizz them a little bit, leave them alone, open back up the live well, make sure that they, a couple of them would be okay with just a little amount of air being released. And then a couple of them I had to fizz multiple times, but all my fish survived, went back in the lake, and, overall it was a good experience for me.
Yeah. Sounds like it. Well, I do want to just kind of stress the importance of anybody who fishes that, especially deep, to learn the process of fizzing, because it's something that opened my eyes this tournament, because I didn't plan on catching one deep, and it just kind of happened. And so it's really important for everybody to know how to do to take care of the fish. And Robbie was an awesome fizzer. Like, she really showed me she's very delicate and showed me the process. So, she just let a little bit out at first and then kind of give it a minute and see how it's doing. Because like you said, you don't want to let too much air out. So really appreciate Robbie taking the time to do that and show me that process. So I'm going to get me some fizz needles and some fin clips and be more prepared next time.
Yeah, Secret York, actually, I had one that was still kind of floating on day one, and we were waiting at the tanks, and she fizzed it, and I actually watched her exactly what she did. So I would recommend either watching somebody. I tried to watch videos and do the side fizzing, and it's just a little more complicated. And the needle that actually came in Barb's kit, these fish were bigger, and the spotted bass, their mouth is smaller, so it was hard to get these tiny little needles in. So I actually borrowed a bigger needle at the weigh-in and used it the last 2 days. There's some good videos out on YouTube if you just kind of Google how to fizz a bass or a spotted bass. Fizzing in the side is a little different for each fish, like what location for a spot and a smallmouth and a largemouth. So there were some good videos on that. And fizzing in the mouth, you kind of open their mouth, you look for the two crushers that are right in the middle, and I did it right off to the right-hand side of that crusher, and you just stick the needle in, put the fish down in the water, and let it bubble maybe 10 seconds. And then let it rest and see if it did the trick. And if not, do the, kind of repeat the process.
Yeah. That's the way Robbie did it. And that would seem to me to be the most easy way to do it rather than learning the specific locations on the different fish and counting the gills. Yeah. Might be a bit more challenging to do. I know Travis Birch, I think, is who you got the needle from. He told me the other day he actually just buys them in bulk from Tractor Supply. So doesn't have to be a special, fish fizzing needle. It's just, and it worked just fine. So, but I heard Barb Elliott's kit is really, really good too. So if I can find a link to that somewhere, if it's still around, I'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Would you like fishing and hunting information and tips from experienced outdoors women? Want to learn more about outdoor gear that works for you? Want inspiration and try to find something new in the outdoors? Then subscribe to Adventurous, the only women's hunting and fishing magazine. Adventurous is a high-quality print magazine you'll be sure to love, and it makes a great gift for other outdoors women and youth. Subscribe at adventurousmagazine.com.
I want to go way back just a little bit because you kind of started with, you heard about the WBT. You had to have been into fishing before you heard about it, right? You didn't just like, oh, I'm going to fish. No. How did you get into it?
Well, in my early 20s, my doctor said, you're stressed, and I had some health issues, and he was like, you need to get a hobby. And so I kind of sucked at golf. I still play, but I can hit it. It's just getting on the green. Then I go like over the green and back. And so I
work on your short game.
Yeah. I wasn't real great at that. So I had a little reservoir by my house. It was called the Eagle Creek Reservoir in Indiana. And I bought a little aluminum boat with you could only have a 9.9 horsepower motor. And, I had a 9.9 motor and a trolling motor, and a friend of mine, her name was Kelly Hartman. We'd go out every Friday night, and we'd start out bass fishing. And then when it got dark, we would start catfishing. And that's kind of where it all started. And then I really liked it. I bought a cabin down on Patoka Lake in southern Indiana, and I would go there for the weekends. There weren't a lot of, there's Geist Reservoir and Eagle Creek, but there weren't a lot of fisheries really close like there are here in Nashville. So when I moved down here, probably 15 years ago, I live a mile from Percy Priest, a boat ramp, and I really got ate up with it here. And the only reason I knew about the women's tournaments is back when BASS sponsored it in Academy, it was advertised in Bassmaster magazine. And I was actually on the couch, and a friend of mine threw the magazine to me and said, well, why don't you do this? It was like, you love fishing. And I'm like, no, I'm not good enough. I just, go out there and have fun. And that's the thing about this whole, at least the women's tour anyway, you don't have to be like a Kevin Van Dam to come out and compete. and I went out and I fished with a lot of great anglers my first year, and I learned a lot. And, the more you learn, the better you get, the more time on the water, the better you get. And, that just it rolled from there. I got ate up with the tournament fishing. I was always an athlete back in high school, and, competition is fun. Sometimes it's very stressful,
Yes. A lot of times it's very stressful.
Yeah, that may be, it's bittersweet. The LBAA, when I heard it was coming to an end, I was like, okay, this is my last year. I'm going to sort of retire. And now it's gotten picked back up. But the traveling it's so expensive, and I still work full time, and it's really hard. So unless for some reason I got, a sponsorship for next year, I think I'm going to take a step back and fish locally. And if LBAA, came close to Tennessee, I'd probably do it. I will miss it. I love it. I'm ate up with it. But, you got family and work and other responsibilities that it might be time to take a little break. Although, the guys that are taking it over, I'm really impressed with they were at our tournament, they were present, they did videos, they did awesome stuff already. So I'm excited to see what they do with it. I would love to do like one more year to see where it's going. So I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence because I'm like, well, I finished Angler of the Year. I almost won the Classic. It's good to go out on top, but then, you still got that bug. So
yeah.
If I didn't work, I'd definitely stick with it because it is truly the best group of people that I've ever been around. And, I fish with guys every Saturday here in a local club, and it's different. It's more, people are helpful, and any given lady, I swear, in the LBAA can go out and win. It's just such a great group, and the husbands and partners and people that come and help out. It's just, I don't know. It would be something, if I do give it up, it would truly be missed.
Yeah. Oh, I kind of went through the exact same thought process as you this season. I was like, well, it's super expensive, especially right now, to travel. But I love it so much. And when we found out that Craig LaPointe was going to be involved, and we became such good friends with them last year, and after getting to talk in depth with Travis and some of his ideas on how to make improvements and scheduling and things like that, I'm pretty much committed to fish it again in 2024. Like you said, just kind of see how it goes. So I'm really excited about it. I'm, in the process already of kind of getting ready for next season because we leave for Florida here in a couple weeks, and then
you dog.
Our first tournament will likely be in March, and we're still supposed to be down in Florida. So I'm like, I need to get everything ready now before we go, so that way we can just come grab the boat and go to the first tournament, and then we'll be heading back down to Florida for a little bit. So really excited. I feel like we could talk about so much more, but I want to give you time to get ready for your next tournament this weekend. But talk a little bit about that, and then we'll kind of wrap it up.
Well, I fish every Saturday. It's a team tournament format, which is kind of nice because it's your 5 best between the team, So what I find is either one day I'm on and, I'm hammering them, or my fishing partner's name is Steve, he's on and he's hammering them, or it's a different way to fish. A lot of times I'm in the back of the boat, so he's the tournament director. So a lot of times we take his boat, and it's been an adjustment because he fishes a little bit different than I do. Our championship is on Wheeler in Alabama, which I have never fished. I did get a little bit of local knowledge from one of the ladies on the LBAA, told me a couple areas to try. So we're going to get up real early tomorrow and head down there and have a day of practice. And we won it last year. It was on Chickamauga, and Steve and I pulled it out. Everybody was fishing frogs, and we were actually fishing jigs in like thick hydrilla and just busted them up doing that. So hopefully a jig works. That's my tool of choice is pretty much a jig or a shaky head anywhere I go in the country, although drop shotting now it was fun, I guess, but it's also frustrating in that you see like 6 big bass staring at your line, and no matter what you do, they won't eat it. You know, I was about ready to pull my hair out, but so that's after this, wraps up the weekend. That's kind of my fishing season, and I don't know. I'll decide what I'm going to do next year later. It's sad that in my mind, there's not a lot of love and support for women's fishing. And it's sad to me that anglers like myself and you, and it's so hard to get a monetary sponsor. It probably costs $4,000 to $5,000, I would say, between entry fees and travel and lodging and all of that to fish a season.
And that's not including the boat.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a very expensive sport. And when you put in traveling on top of it, it's sad to me, because I think many, many more women would probably do it if there was more backing behind it. And I hope that's what Travis and Craig can bring some of that exposure and bring some of the bigger sponsors back. And I know a ton of ladies that aren't fishing that hopefully will come back and support it.
Yeah. Well, that'd be great. I've been doing this podcast since the beginning of 2018, and I have started to see change. It's been very, very slow. But it is kind of moving at least in the right direction. So I am excited to see what Travis and Craig and the rest of the team can pull off going forward. I think it's still going to continue to be a slow progression, but hopefully we'll get to that point where companies are recognizing the importance of supporting women in fishing and, stepping up to put out the monetary sponsorships to be able to make it happen. And I'm seeing a lot more ladies in high school and college.
Yeah, that's
and so,
awesome.
That's...
I wish they had that back when, I'm kind of an old timer, and I wish they had that back when I was in school.
Absolutely.
That would have been awesome. So I hope, I know some of the ladies that I talked to, like me, are on the fence, and I think some people are going to stick it out, one more year, and I'd love to do that. And monetarily, we'll see what happens. But, I wish them, whether I fish or don't fish them all, I hope that tour continues. I hope it grows. I hope some of the other ladies that aren't fishing come back, because it's just a great group of people. And after 13 years, it kind of deserves some love that it really doesn't have right now.
Absolutely. Well, I'm gonna make a prediction. I think you're gonna be back next year.
Well, I was dead set on retirement, but I have a lot of people yammering at me that it's too soon or whatever, but they also don't work 40 to 60 hours a week. And I've kind of, I don't know, put my family, they've been great support, but you kind of put them aside because I only get so many vacation days a year, and I want to start traveling and seeing things that I haven't seen. So we'll see. I'll look at the schedule, and, when you're on your own, I drive to all these by myself, and you go through the flat tires like I went through, and the hub problems, and, and you're going 10 hours to Texas or Louisiana. That's a lot.
It is a lot. Yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll see what the schedule is. Maybe
we'll see. If they're Alabama, Chickamauga, Kentucky Lake, I'm all about it. But, it's when it starts getting the Louisianas and Texas and that, it gets a little rough. So we'll see.
I agree. Well, good luck Saturday in the championship. We'll continue to just follow your journey, and we'll see what happens next year.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.